Thank you so much for joining us. Gas prices, tariffs, AI, sticker shock at the supermarket. So many questions about our economy and where it's headed. So little time to talk about it. But we're going to do our best to give you some insight with our guest. He is Peter Cohan of Babson College, an expert business analyst and author most recently of Brain Rush, How to Invest and Compete in the Real World of Generative AI. Peter, welcome. Good to have you here.
Thanks, and I'm really glad to be here.
Okay, the real world of generative AI.
Yes.
Let's talk about what the reality is.
Yes.
College kids at commencements are booing favorable mentions of AI because there goes my employment prospects out the window. Is it this transformative technology that's going to free people from drudge work and stimulate all sorts of economic growth, or is it a job-killing technology that's just going to benefit the wealthy, or somewhere in between?
It's somewhere in between. There's certainly a higher unemployment rate among recent college graduates than the national average. It's something like 5.6% compared to on the 4% range for the overall unemployment rate. So there's a higher than average rate of unemployment. And the other thing I would say is that this is something that I became really aware of. What is it that employers are looking for with regard to students, and why are they sort of more reluctant to hire people who are right out of college, and why are they reluctant to hire people who have entry-level jobs? And the thing that I found really interesting is that one of the CEOs of a local company came and talked to my class and said, I will not hire a new person out of college unless they can do the job of 5 people. And I thought, wow, that is a really powerful statement. What does that exactly mean? And then I talked to him a couple more times, and he told me a story about how his company used AI to essentially make their sales force more productive. And he wants students who are able to do those kinds of things. And so at Babson, what I did was I created and headed a task force of the Faculty Senate on AI and teaching and learning. And in doing that, what I found is that the most important thing that colleges can do to help students to be competitive in the job market is to give them opportunities to work in what we call experiential learning with companies. So a 6-week consulting project at the end of a course where they work with the CEO of a company to use AI to solve a business problem, to help the company grow. And I've been doing that with all my experimental electives. And now I've got, last semester I had something like 8 different projects going on, and the students had that experience, and one of the students groups got job offers from every single member of that team, got a job offer from the company.
So while I'm all for booing, I guess the message is to the kids.
Yes.
Okay, do your booing, but get with the program and figure out.
Yes, and in general, what we found is that most of the students know a lot more about AI than the faculty, which is another interesting phenomenon.
So I keep reading that Massachusetts is lagging behind our competitor states in cashing in, if you will, on AI.
Yes.
Is that true?
Absolutely. California has 60% of the $211 billion in global capital invested in AI, and Massachusetts has about 6% of that. So we're way behind. Our investment from AI has gone up 12%. California's investment has gone up 60%. So really the whole nexus and the whole focus of the AI industry in the world is Silicon Valley.
I've got to take a break, and we can continue this on the other side of the break, but what's our problem?
Our problem
Were we slow to move?
Our problem is a talent being drawn magnetically to the place where it's all happening. Okay. And that's California.
Not here. All right. And Peter, you talk to a lot of people all over the world involved with investment and business. What is the perception of Massachusetts within this universe? Because, the Republicans claim, we're taxing ourselves into unaffordability. People are leaving in droves. It's a disaster. The counter argument is, no, that's not true. We're still a desirable place to invest and live.
Yes. What I would say is that there is an issue of talent leak. A lot of the CEOs of these largest AI companies out in Silicon Valley were educated here. And that is not surprising because talent, graduates from the best schools in the world here, and if they have an opportunity to maximize their economic opportunity in California, they can just get on a plane and go out there.
Right.
But what's interesting about Boston is that back before the 2000, the dot-com bubble burst, there was a lot more key companies in the dot-com era that were located in the Boston area.
Yeah.
Since then, all the key companies in information technology has been really focused much more on California, and the AI industry is much more focused on San Francisco, and that's where everybody wants to be.
Why? It's not cheaper to live there than here.
It's much more expensive to live there, and it's the affordability problem is much worse there. But the fact of the matter is that you have companies like Anthropic, which has Claude, and you have OpenAI that are going to go public later on this year. The valuations of these companies could probably top $1 trillion. So you have people who work there, who help start these companies, who own stock in these companies, who are basically going to become probably billionaires or maybe just a few hundred million. It's enough to afford even the ridiculously expensive costs in San Francisco. And they have lots of traffic problems. They have infrastructure problems. They have all the problems we have probably magnified. But the opportunity that is there is just so compelling that people want to be there.
I think it might have been the last time you were here, we talked about working from home,
yes.
And the whole rise of that during the pandemic, and
yes.
how people were not returning to the office, and this was becoming a sticker point in management labor relations.
Yes.
Well, now we're hearing more companies are making their employees come back.
Yes.
Politicians are predicting that this will be a trend. Do you buy that? Is the back to the office movement for real? Because I also hear compelling arguments that we're never going back to the pre-pandemic world.
Yes, I agree with the latter. I mean, basically what's happening is that you have a sort of a plateau at what is, I think, the new normal, which is you go into the office Tuesday through Thursday, and Monday and Friday you work from home. And I think that's where we're at. And I think that, if you look at the vacancy rate of our downtown office buildings, yeah. We have the leading vacancy rate on the East Coast. Somewhere on the order of 20 to 30%. There's a range of different estimates. I think that vacancy rate is going to pretty much stay that way. Something I wrote about several years ago was the idea of converting offices into living spaces for humans. Basically, it's an architectural challenge, but it can be done. And that's how you kind of lower the vacancy rates of these office buildings that are probably not going to be occupied by companies.
Wow. Well, our time is up, but I'm going to squeeze out 60 more seconds because I want to ask you, we in the political analyst world yes. focus obsessively on the next election. That's our job.
Yes.
How important is this fall's midterm elections to determining the future path of the economy, or does it not matter as much as a lot of people say it does?
I think it's not as important to the economy, but it's, in my view, very important to the sort of survival of the United States or the future of the United States. So I definitely believe it's a very important election, but I also see the economy as basically not being in terrible shape right now, and I don't think the election outcome is going to affect the economy that much.
Peter Cohan, Babson College, thank you very much for being here.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Always great to have your insight and great to have you joining us.